Good evening. Good evening. Can those online hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Can those in the room hear me? Barely. He's working on it. Well, welcome to the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees meeting. I am now calling this meeting to order. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. This is Megan.
Thank you. We'll move to a roll call vote, please.
Penny Lev Hensley.
Aye.
Bikram Kotwani.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole.
Marianne has stepped away, I think, or she's muted.
That's 6 votes, so the motion passes. We are going to move on to the public comments portion of our meeting. You will have 2 minutes to speak. We will take 1 hour to hear your comments. Please no clapping or noise between speakers or during. No inappropriate language. Please be respectful to one another. Direct your comments up here to the board and not the audience. No playing of videos or recordings for your comment. When you get to the microphone, please say your name. And we have a lot of people who would like to speak tonight. So if you finish early and feel like stepping away early, we'll give more people a chance to speak. And you can always submit comments through our website too if you feel like you haven't been heard tonight. We'll call up, are you going to do 1 and then 1, 3? So we'll call 3 names. We'll have the first person come to the microphone, the following to be ready so we can keep moving and get more people in. Okay, go ahead.
Our first speaker tonight is online, Catherine Gardner, followed by Daria Ragos, followed by Narissa Erickson.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Gardner, pronoun she, her, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. This may not be my usual polished fare. Tonight I was planning on highlighting and celebrating a display I saw recently at the Vancouver Community Library. However, recent events make it so that I cannot. That can wait for a better day. Next Benedict was a non-binary 16-year-old from Oklahoma who was beaten by classmates in a bathroom of their high school earlier this month. Next succumbed to their injuries and died on February 8th. Children beating and killing other children for the simple fact that they are different isn't something that is innate. It is taught. It is learned. That sort of violence and hate is passed on from adults. That sort of bigotry, which can literally destroy others, is planted and takes root from those who have been tasked to be an example, to be their first teachers. Words matter. The examples that we set for those who follow us matter. The harm being cast upon people like Nex and others in this country who are different but do no harm is a blight. To give a platform, any platform, to those who would spread harmful rhetoric that can lead to the death of a 16-year-old is a disgrace. If you really want to help, quote, unquote, save the children, do what wasn't done in time for Nex. Stop the lies and stop the hate, because the kids are watching and learning and the damage is real. Their name was Nex Benedict.
I think it's on now. Okay, here we go.
Thank you, honorable committee members, for serving on this board and hearing me today. I'm Daria Ruggles, and I worked for FVRL for more than a dozen years. I volunteered for many years before that. If you don't already know, Sherry Braga is the finest volunteer coordinator I have ever had the honor to know. The good she has done this organization with her warmth and genuine appreciation is immeasurable and lasting, and I believe will continue to reverberate in our communities for years to come. My plan was to have a lifelong career at FVRL. I obtained my master's degree for this reason, but it was not to be. My 12 years of dedication in creating empowering community programming turned out to be a vow of poverty. If I did not have a partner, I would not be able to retire. I am just one of the many that had to leave. As a taxpayer, I welcome our new executive director, Jennifer, and I do not begrudge her a fair or even a generous salary. But please see the facts that have wrought such terrible repercussions to those who do the frontline work. Through years of patently unfair and inequitable contract bargaining, FVRL has systematically and consistently underpaid their rank and file so that we have full-time people trying not to live in their cars. Some do. You have the power to right this wrong. Get the facts and do the right thing. FVRL is overdue. Secure the dignity of a living wage for all your staff. And one last thing, you can't enrich the community while impoverishing your workers. Please do something. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Narissa Eckerson. I'm a senior library assistant here at the Vancouver Community Library. I've worked for FVRLibraries and served as a shop steward for our union WPEA for 6 years. I want to thank the board for their service to our library district and our community as a whole. I stand before you tonight to implore you to support the largest group of staff employed here at FVRLibraries. You've recently approved the second highest salary for a library executive director in the state of Washington, and I applaud you in supporting that important role. I ask you tonight to show the same support for the rest of our staff here. Library workers are the lifeblood of our libraries. From issuing new library cards to creating a welcoming environment to our houseless neighbors, from providing story times to our youngest to delivering books to the eldest, we can all agree that library workers provide vital services to our community. Over the years, I have watched many talented staff members leave our libraries due to the lack of pay here. This is the second year I've personally seen FVRLibraries have to raise their entry-level wages just to keep up with the minimum wage of the state. The work we do here requires empathy, skill, and professionalism that goes above and beyond a minimum wage. Our bargaining team currently faces opposition from the admin team here at FVRLibraries in its effort to bargain a living wage. We need you to make this happen. Please support quality workers with quality wages. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Darren Gibson, Joey Hicklin, followed by Kevin Vitz Wong.
Hello, I'm Darren Gibson. I live here in the city of Vancouver, and I just wanted to say that I love the library. I have felt happy, proud, and grateful for it. But you can't. Can you hear it now? Okay, I'm going to start over. Okay. I love the library is what I said, and I felt happy, proud, and grateful for it. But now that I have learned a lot of employees don't make a living wage, it makes me sad. It's not right, and they deserve better. Thank you.
Is the next speaker ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, please go ahead.
Can you reset the timer real quick? Thanks. Good evening, members of the board, fellow community members. As a union organizer for the FVRL staff union and a devoted member of the FVRL community here in Vancouver, I come before you today with a heavy heart. the voices of our library members, echoed through a recent survey, reveal a troubling reality that demands our urgent attention. In the survey, 83% of respondents expressed the painful truth of relying on assistance from friends or family just to afford necessities like housing, transportation, and food. Even more disheartening, 94% admitted that they cannot financially survive on their own without external support. 472 signatures have been added to an online petition asking the board to pay FVRL staff a living wage, and many more physical signatures have been collected over the preceding weeks. And these aren't just statistics. These represent the human stories of struggle and hardship within our own community. One union member with a double bachelor's degree, despite working tirelessly for FVRL, described the humiliating reality of not being able to afford tires. Another colleague wakes up at 4:30 in the morning every Wednesday to do their laundry at a friend's house because they can't afford a laundromat. There are numerous testimonies outlining that their rent alone consumes more than half of their monthly pay, and many of the survey respondents are renting rooms with strangers because that's all they can afford. These stories lay bare the harsh truth of our current situation. Our library dedicated workers at FVRL, the heart and soul of our community, are struggling to make ends meet, sacrificing their own well-being for the sake of their jobs. I implore you, esteemed members of the board, to take decisive action to address the crisis, allocate the resources, and pay our members a living wage. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Kevin Vitz Wong.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Kevin Vitz Wong. I'm a member of WPEA. I work in Bellevue College. And yeah, I'm calling in solidarity with the WPEA and the library workers in the district who simply want, a living wage, to not have to work multiple jobs, to keep a roof over their heads. As someone who grew up in a library household, I know how important it is to have the stability of a predictability of living wage, realistic step increases, things that don't put you behind the curve in terms of cost of living increases. And I think it's a shame that we're talking about minimum wage and frontline employee pay in the same conversation. So I implore you and the board to please raise the, do what you have to do, expand the budgets to accommodate and meet these reasonable demands to make sure that the frontline workers, the library workers, are able to stay in the district and keep working their jobs and keep serving the public. Libraries are incredibly important, as you know, and this, the situation is something that is up to you to rectify. Thank you very much for your time, and again, solidarity with the library workers.
Our next three speakers are Wendy, followed by Jake, followed by Evan.
I'm reading for Wendy, if that's okay. My name is Wendy Peterson. I'm a union member and a part of the community that the FVRL district serves. I have worked at the downtown branch for 14 years. For most of this time period, I've had the benefit of my husband's salary, as one would stereotypically call the breadwinner of the family. I have never had to worry about supporting myself with the salary I earn here as a library worker. But while I am now at the top of my pay grade for my public services assistant position after 14 years, I would not be able to pay our mortgage and all of our bills and care for my child with my wages alone. The top of my pay grade is actually the low end of most other comparable districts. So turnover is high in our district. How can we expect to attract and retain quality employees when we can't compete? The dedicated library workers who remain here feel beaten down physically and mentally. We are the ones who work tirelessly, face to face with patrons, day after day, in spite of how we feel. We feel overworked and underappreciated. Some of the daily work we do should require a master's in library science degree, which most of us do not have, or we would be actual librarians, but we are not getting paid respectively for doing that work. I work alongside colleagues who struggle to pay rent. live paycheck to paycheck, work second jobs and pick up extra hours, exhausted, just barely surviving. How can any of us save enough money for emergencies, vacations, or even retirement? What kind of existence is this? Just surviving. I would like for all of us to thrive, make this district something of which you can be proud to lead and for whom I can be proud to work. I would like to advocate for the Board of Trustees and FVRL management to ensure that all workers in this district are paid a living wage. I'm asking the board to take a closer look at the budget for FVRL and find a way to invest in their workforce. This is long overdue. Thank you. Who's the second person?
I'm sorry, do you have other comments that you're reading for folks?
I do.
Okay, I don't think I'm going to allow that tonight with the amount of people in the audience who would like to be heard and came in person.
Do you want me to wait until after?
At the end, if you're
Okay,
reading for,
sure.
I would like people who are here who came to be able to speak first.
Sure. Some of these people are here, but physically can't be in this actual.
Okay, that I understand. We'll have them,
Okay.
but there's people who are here and who would love to speak.
Sure.
So we're going to
sure.
go.
I'll wait.
first.
Thank you.
After Jake was Evan. Okay. Carmen. All right. So following Carmen, we have Delaney Neal, followed by Len.
Good evening. My name is Carmen. My pronouns are she, her. I am a full-time FVRL employee, WPEA union member, and a resident of Vancouver. Although I love many aspects of my job, I have come to discover that the perception, mine included, of working in a library is often vastly different than the reality. It may come as a surprise to the public and to the board to find out that our service desks are not regularly staffed by librarians, but by library assistants. In addition to the regular tasks of signing patrons up for library cards, directional questions, and managing of book returns, I am regularly asked reference questions, reader's advisory questions, and questions relating to technology. Some are basic and well within the boundaries of my job description, training, and knowledge, but many should be handled by a person with a master's degree that a librarian would have. Despite the many roles I'm expected to fill, my position as a public services assistant has a starting pay of minimum wage. These are not minimum wage tasks. A full-time public employee should be able to support themselves in the communities in which they serve without needing to work 3 to 4 additional part-time jobs in order to pay their rent and afford to eat. FVRL has amassed their millions in reserve funds, not simply through fundraising and being wise and careful stewards of public funds, but through the exploitation of its employees. FVRL has saved for years by underpaying its employees, while at the same time, asking more and more of its lower tier workers. FVRL has prioritized new building projects at the expense of the humans that work in those buildings. Check library job postings. You'll find FVRL has some of the lowest library wages in all of Oregon and Washington. I urge the FVRL Board of Trustees to support a fair and living wage for all FVRL employees. Thank you.
Please, no clapping. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Delaney, pronouns she, her. I'm speaking here today as a member of the public and a member of WPEA. I work at this branch as a PSA, public services assistant. I love working at FVRL and I love the community and staff here. This job is so rewarding and I'm so glad that I'm able to work in library services. However, the wages are just untenable. I'm making minimum wage. I am being paid the least amount of any library worker in Washington and the least amount of any library worker in the Portland metro area. The board should be ashamed that in this room, there are both the lowest paid library workers in the state and one of the highest paid, our new director. I have 2 jobs. I work part-time here and part-time at another library system in this metro area. I prefer my job here. I get to work more closely with the public and work in more parts of the library. However, I would be unable to accept a full-time public services assistant position at FVRL because I'm paid almost $3 an hour more at my other job. And without that additional income, I would not be able to live. I'm barely scraping by as it is, even though I often work 6 days a week. This is not even mentioning that I have far more responsibilities and skills that I'm expected to perform here than I do at my other library job. I've worked in libraries in 3 states, and I've never seen a library that expects its lowest level employees to answer reference questions as skillfully as librarians with master's degrees while paying them minimum wage. FVRL is giving us all excellent experience for our resumes by cross-training us in so many skills that this level of worker is not usually expected to perform, while not compensating us in a way that encourages us to stay here. If FVRL cares about retaining employees, the board needs to authorize management to negotiate a living wage now.
Hi, I came running down because I heard that my statement wasn't going to be read unless I was actually here, so I'm taking my break.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Evan.
In order? Great, go ahead. Thank you, Evan.
Okay. I have worked with FVRL for less than a year, and less than half that time was needed to recognize some critical obstacles to performing my job. We are severely understaffed at Vancouver Community Library to the point where I, a public services assistant who has worked here less than a year, is performing duties above my job description, which are, to put it bluntly, above my pay grade. I am one of the lowest paid library workers in Washington. During my hiring interview, I actually presented my concern about working at a job that is severely understaffed and thus requires me to do the work of those above my pay grade, or at the very least, the work of 2 or 3 of my coworkers combined. I have been burned before. They said there was no way to tell, though this was a lie or at least a hopeful admission, as people had already submitted their summer vacation requests. As could be predicted, we lost many coworkers due to being understaffed and more specifically underpaid, which only made the circumstances worse. This isn't to say new people were not hired. It is, however, necessary to acknowledge that Vancouver Community Library is still severely understaffed, which makes apparent the fact that many new hires as well as long-timers are among the lowest paid library workers in the state. I changed my schedule to work 3 days in a row because I need at least 3 days rest to recover from and prevent burnout. This is not a financially sound or advisable decision, but is necessary for my mental and physical health. We are also in need of more guards. This branch has much higher statistics of incidents compared to any other FVRL branch. We are in need of change if we are to continue providing the quantity and quality of resources and services our patrons have come to depend upon and enjoy. I hope the board will take my complaints and urges to action seriously, as well as those of my many fellow FVRL workers speaking tonight.
Our next speaker is Len, followed by Heather Anderson, followed by Justin Allen.
Okay. My name is Len and my pronouns are he, him. I've worked for FVRL for 2 years, but I've been in libraries for 7. Right now, I work on call at 3 other nearby libraries. I work 30 days a month because if I miss one single day of work, I have to choose between eating and paying rent. My other libraries pay me about $3 to $4 more an hour than FVRL, and in 2019, I was being paid $21 an hour to do less work than I do here. The pay at FVRL is insultingly low. My position, which is asked to do reference work, now starts at minimum wage. My salary here is capped slightly above the starting step at one of my other libraries. The position above mine, which is also not a librarian position, is tasked with librarian responsibilities and only starts a few dollars higher. I go without car maintenance, I cancel doctor's appointments because I can't afford the copays, and I've had to go without medication in order to make rent. Trying to budget household goods is a financial nightmare. During my time with FVRL, I've always had to work additional jobs, totaling up to 100 hours a week in order to stay afloat. Being paid so little that I have to hold sustained outside employment has drained me of what little energy I have, and I can barely take care of my home that I share with a roommate. I sit in my car outside of my home for hours after work just to gather my strength to go inside and go to sleep. I stay at FVRL because I care about my community, but I am ruined mentally and physically from my constant labor because I am paid barely above minimum wage. I love my community and I love FVRL. Because of this, I want to be able to put all of my energy into making it better, and I can't do that with what I'm paid. I'm not asking to thrive. I am asking to be paid enough to live. What I want is for someone to look me in the eyes and tell me why I don't deserve a living wage. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Heather Anderson. I'm a union member and part of this community. I'm an SLA here at Vancouver Community Library. and I'm here to advocate for this board and FVRL management to ensure the workers at this library are paid a living wage. The pay scale at this library is not keeping up with minimum wage. My child regularly points out signs all over town advertising a higher starting wage for unskilled workers at Taco Bell than what I make. And I've been here for almost 6 years. And I am not a PSA, I'm an SLA. So you come in and you see a smiling library worker and attend a great story time and find an awesome book. But behind the scenes, we're incredibly short-staffed. And in that state, we're helping teens. We're helping them succeed in their schoolwork. We're helping adults and seniors to use technology. We're helping people at their very lowest point to find resources and do that in a kind and empathetic way. So this is an incredibly important job that actually helps individuals every single day. Ask any of us and we will tell you heartbreaking experiences from what we do every day. And the environment that we're doing that job in includes violent, verbally abusive patrons, extensive drug use and overdose situations and heartbreaking experiences. Just there's been several lately. So I'm feeling that very hard. Most of us have second jobs and work on our days off. I use my vacation days, every single hour of them, to do a work trip so that I can afford to pay the bills. An example of expenses, my rent has doubled in the last 5 years. My wages have gone up $1. Most of us have second jobs. But most of us also drive straight to work, maybe straight to our other job, and then straight back home because we don't have enough gas to go to the zoo or go do something fun. We need to save the gas for the rest of the week. Somehow our libraries are staffed by the most incredible, amazing people. I work with some of the most wonderful library employees, and they care so, so much. But we're all hanging on by a thread.
Thank you. We'll have to move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Justin. I usually here to talk about gay rights and why we should be having drag queen story hours here again. But there's a hell of a lot more blue shirts than teal ones this week, so I'm going to go off topic. When I found out that the people that helped me get the new Jim Butcher book were getting paid less than Taco Bell workers, I am appalled. Looking at the back of their shirts, strength, change, equality, working conditions, representation, protections, and quality of life and fair wages. These are the same things that the gay community has been fighting for decades. And both workers and minorities of all stripes in America have been doing their damnedest against the status quo to be able to exist, to be proud members of the American people, to get homes, raise families, have jobs that they can be proud of, go on a vacation for a few days, 2 or 3 times a year maybe. And the idea that it would be easier to do that, making overpriced, not even Mexican food, as opposed to helping little kids learn and entertaining the people here in the state of Washington, I have no affiliation whatsoever with union operations. I had no idea this was happening, but I don't know, I think $30 an hour is a good starting wage with COLA adjustments. That's just one person's opinion. And I don't know why it's so hard. Looking at the salaries for people doing librarian jobs, it starts at $60K a year. That's $30 an hour. And if these folks are actually doing that kind of work, they should be compensated at the rate of the labor that they are performing, ma'am. Members of the esteemed board, I don't know how to talk to politicians, and like pay these people more money, pay them a lot more money, give them more time off so we can help kids read books and, you know, also bring back Drag King Story Hour.
Our next 3 are David Albee, Zanine, and Julie E.
Boop. Oh. On February 8th, 2024.
Can you please say your name for us?
Oh,
Thanks.
shit. I'm David. Sorry.
And watch your
Sorry.
language.
Yep.
Thank you.
On February 8th this year, Next Benedict, an indigenous 16-year-old youth, was beaten to death in a school restroom by a group of girls. This is directly related to Libs of TikTok recently targeting Oklahoma schools, which led to bomb threats and the subsequent closure of those schools to protect children. Libs of TikTok also targets librarians. And how long before we see an attack here because of the same vitriol that some of you are spewing. This death of a child, it's your fault. Your words have power and they have meaning, and other people feel compelled to act upon them. Libraries pulling Drag Queen Story Hour are doing so to protect our children, my children, from people like you, not from drag queens, not from queer authors, but from unhinged Christian fundamentalists. I know that you won't mourn this child, and I know you won't accept responsibility for the fact that the same words you use killed Nex. It's times like this that I honestly hope your God is real, and he shows you the same compassion and mercy you show queer and trans adults and children. I'd like to ask the board to honor Nex with a moment of silence. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Zanine. Yeah, okay. Julie E. Okay, Angelica. Angelica, sorry. Alex M. Okay, so we have Alex N, followed by Melanie McCree, followed by Quill.
My name is Alex. My pronouns are he, they. I am a senior library assistant here at VA. So many of my fellow union members have spoken eloquently about their struggles with low wages at FVRL amidst the rising cost of living. I am here to share what has happened and what will continue to happen if this wage gap is allowed to persist. I have worked for FVRL for more than 10 years. I work here because I want to make a difference in people's lives. If I wanted to live a lavish lifestyle, I would not have chosen this profession, nor would my fellow union members. Many of us are qualified and more than capable of securing high-paying careers if that had been our goal. Yet we choose to live simpler lives in order to perform a more fulfilling work. So when we say that our wages are insufficient for us to meet our daily expenses, you know we are in earnest. Many others have brought forward this issue to administration and been ignored or rebuffed. As a result, our library district has earned the shameful reputation of being a starter library, somewhere to temporarily get job experience, but not a place where you can build a career. Let the numbers speak for themselves. During my 10+ years at this location, I have seen 87 coworkers leave. 9 retired, 25 went to another branch, and 53 employees have left this location and the district. Their reasons for leaving are not a mystery. HR has conducted exit interviews that all share a similar reason: low pay. Other library districts have learned how to retain their staff, pay them what they're worth. Up until now, FVRL's implicit message to their employees has been that they are replaceable. And understandably, many who were able to have left. Please do not continue to make the same mistake. Please invest in your staff and make FVRL a place library workers want to spend their entire career. Thank you.
Melanie McCree.
Okay, yeah, so spoiler, the 4:30 a.m., that was me. And that's actually, I wanted to tell you a story. So, about 2 years ago, they lifted the wage restraints, and I got an email from my landlord that my rent was going to go up by $1,000 a month. So I had to find a new place to live. I lost my home of 11 years, and the rent around here is really high. So I thought I was going to have to stay in someone's home and rent a room there. But I had some friends who let me stay at their place. I paid off the personal loan, and there's this thing called FHA. I thought a home for no money down. I wouldn't want much. It would just be a fixed payment every month. That's all I need. But the median price for homes in this area is $400,000, and for what I'm sure, the median price for homes in this area is $400,000, and on what I'm paid, I didn't really qualify for much of a loan. So I had this great real estate agent. She found me the place I'm living now. It's 700 some square feet, new water heater. I was glad about that. But my friend, she gave me this housewarming gift that was enough to get a washer and dryer. I was going to get a stacked one. It's going to be bright red. And unfortunately, my friend, she's an electrician. She looked at the space and she said, this hasn't been updated since 1981. You can't plug a washer and dryer in. So what I do is every Wednesday at 4:30, I get up and I go to my friend's house, so I'm not in her way, and I wash my clothes there. To redo the wiring would cost upward of $2,000. And I wanted you all to know that I worked for the library for 23 years and I have to wash my clothes at someone else's home. And I think that's all I had to say.
Hi, my name is Cole Onstead and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a genderqueer member of the library community. I've watched opponents of Drag Queen Story Hour object to the program from a wide variety. Oops, sorry. That is a previous comment. Please allow me to pull up this month's comment. There we go. Sorry. All right. I don't want to read or watch this is a valid statement. This is disgusting to me is a valid statement. I don't want to read or watch this because it is disgusting to me is valid. I don't think anyone should be allowed to read or watch this because it is disgusting to me is authoritarian. Does it sound a little familiar? So many of the arguments against Drag Queen Story Hour can be boiled down to this is disgusting and I don't think anyone should see it. Disgust and moral outrage should never be the deciding factors of what is and isn't allowed in a public library. Drag Queen Story Hour is a vital program that teaches kids about gender identity in an age-appropriate manner. Parents who do not approve of Drag Queen Story Hour do not have to bring their children to any Drag Queen Story Hour programs. Please allow the staff of FVRL Libraries to present Drag Queen Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in FVRL Libraries' equity statement. Thank you for your service to the community. And just to make sure y'all can see the back of my shirt, Union Pride. And I will freely admit, I am one of the employees you have lost due to low wages. Thank you very much.
Following speaker is Lynette Black, followed by Dave Gallus, followed by Abby Hart.
To let you know, this is kind of awkward to me. Can I move this?
No, we need
No,
to
I
keep it
can't?
there
Okay.
facing
So-
us. Address the board, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Lynette Black. I was hired in 1992 as a substitute. I earned my associate's degree in business, went to Clark College, and did work study at the library there. I was hired as a sub for a year as an assistant one, which paid more than minimum wage. Then a year later, Sherry Braga, sorry, don't address them. Sherry Braga approached me and saying, hey, we need assistant twos. Just take a test. You'll pass it. It's great. I've worked at multiple libraries. Everyone is so eloquent and beautiful in stating that I think the board now knows we have low wages, and I don't need to add to that. I want to say how thankful I am to the newer members of our FVRL team that showed up today. That's great. And I also want to say thank you to the staff that set this up. And I want to say thank you to the staff that came up and cleaned our building for you today, that picked up trash for you. That's great. Everyone still has low wages. And I guess it's still fine. I'm a little nervous. My topic actually is more about the safety at VA. So a day in the life of us at VA, we park and we walk 7 minutes to this building in rain, snow, hoping the wind doesn't blow away our umbrellas. We have no parking for staff here, which I actually also blame the city council. So that's another topic. We get here and a good day at VA starts with no needles, no feces, no crack pipes, no tinfoil. So that's a great day we start. A great day is also not getting verbally abused.
A great day at VA is also not getting assaulted. Some of the stuff that happens, I'm not going to talk about, but you are more than happy to read our PITS reports and see what your staff goes through.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys. Jennifer, my fellow WPEA union members. When I last spoke in December, I left the board and management with what I thought was a helpful, heartfelt piece of advice. I said, if you won't pay these fabulous employees, then shame on you. It has been my observation over the last 2 months that FVRL management has decided to take a hard right onto Shame on You Boulevard. This ideal that management holds dear that their employees are paid properly is ludicrous. We are losing these wonderful employees at an alarming rate, and I am here to tell you that if they leave, what you will be left with will be less than. Many of you in management positions make 6 figures or close to it and don't incur the same day-to-day worries and stresses of the dedicated staff that make FVRL the best library system in the country. You can build libraries, remodel OC, and spend money on a car stipend when buying a car for the ED to drive would have been much more cost effective. Yet the minute we talk about giving your employees a hand up, the money just seems to dry up. Shame on you. I have 2 cliches that have been very important to me in my 40 years as a grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Number 1, the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. FVRL has done just that with employees' wages. Over and over again, you have failed to bring these fantastic human beings up to where they could thrive and make the library system even better than it is today. Number 2, and this is a big one, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And folks, we are tired of the same old crap. We by showing up here tonight are saying that you, the board, the ED, and the FVR management, we want something different. It is time you all get on board. Pay these wonderful people a fair living wage. The time for sitting on your hands and hoping we will just settle is over. It is time to let your employees know if they are important to you or they are just those that can be taken advantage of. Time will tell. Thank you for your time. I'm out.
Hi, folks. My name is Abby Hart, and I am the union representative for our WPEA members here at FVRL, and I'm also the lead contract negotiator. We have been bargaining with your HR department for a new contract for WPEA members since June of last year. Our job as a bargaining team is to advocate for what the members need so that we can get the majority of the membership to vote yes on a successor union contract. Unfortunately, the amount of money that your HR department has told us has been dedicated to wages for WPEA members is simply not enough. We won't be able to get our membership to vote yes for a contract deal with such limited resources. As you have heard from our membership tonight, there's a strong desire for FVRL to bargain a living wage for every single employee that we represent. We're very excited to see that this board has hired Jennifer Giltrip, who has shared many times her experience and passion for working with budgets. Given this, we are asking the Board of Trustees to work with your new executive director on a thorough review of your operating budget and find ways to redirect funding towards staff salaries. The folks who are the face of the library in this community, the workers who keep the doors of each branch open, and people who are valuable parts of the community that this library system serves. Given all the member stories that you've heard and will hear tonight, we hope you can witness the humanity of the workers whose lives you have such a significant impact on as leaders of the agency these folks work for. We're not asking for the moon and the stars. We are asking for dignity and fair wages for all workers at FVRL. I'm happy to discuss further with respect to the ground rules bargained last summer, and we'll leave you my business card.
Our next speakers are, and I apologize if I say this incorrectly, Ming Clan, followed by Melissa Perez. And then I do have Angelica E online who would like to speak.
Okay, move ahead online if there's no one present. Yeah, come on up.
My name is Melissa Perez. I am an FVRL employee, a WPEA union member. I've also been a part of the community which the library serves for nearly 30 years. I learned to read in that building right across the street. As a librarian, you might be the only one saying hello to someone in a day, or you might be the one to point someone to a new skill or passion. This is a direct quote from our new executive director, Jennifer Giltrup. I find some days it's difficult for me to help a patron find passion when I've spent my own day wondering where my next meal is coming from, or if I'm ever going to be able to catch up on the electric bill that I'm currently 3 months behind on. We're here to show the board the severity of the issues we're facing as FVRL employees. Management is opposing wage increases that will raise people out of poverty. We've been told the reason our wages can't go up is our benefits package. If this benefits package was as impressive as they make it sound, I wouldn't need to be on government food assistance, of which I get $54 a month to eat for the whole month. Or I wouldn't need to apply for FMLA every 3 months to handle the chronic illness I'm dealing with, which is the only reason I'm not trying to get a part-time or a full-time position. I am here today to advocate to the Board of Trustees and FVRL management to ensure that all workers in the system are paid a living wage. The pay scale in place is not keeping up with the state's minimum or even the ever-increasing cost of living. I am asking the Board of Trustees to take a closer look at the budget for FVRL and find a way to invest in their own workforce. This is long overdue, and now is the time to address the system-wide problem. Thank you.
I have Angelica E. online who would like to speak.
Go ahead, please. Angelica, are you there?
We lost her.
Okay.
All right, so we have Kristen Stager, followed by Kaylin, followed by Bonnie Cobb. Alice.
Hello, my name is Kristen Stager. I'm an FVRL employee and a WPEA union member. I am asking the Board of Trustees and FVRL management to ensure that all of the workers at this library system are paid a living wage. I am a public services assistant, and after almost 3 years of working at FVRL, I earned $17.93 an hour. To put that into perspective, the nearby Multnomah County Library System pays a minimum of $21.26 an hour for the equivalent position of library clerk. The maximum I can earn in my current position at FVRL is $21.37, just 11 cents more than Multnomah County's minimum starting wage. Despite working full-time, I live in low-income housing and get monthly food benefits in order to take care of my disabled mother. FVRL's pay scale is not keeping up with the cost of living or minimum wage. Without changes to the current pay structure, FVRL is contributing to the systemic inequality that we are supposed to be helping prevent and forcing its employees to rely on government assistance, hold multiple jobs, or seek employment elsewhere. I am asking the Board of Trustees to take a closer look at the budget for FVRL and find a way to invest in our workforce. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaylin, and I'm an FVRL employee, a union member, and part of the community that our library serves. I'm here because FVRL is not paying its staff appropriately and has not paid its staff appropriately for over a decade. I'm a bit of a facts person, and I'd love to share some tidbits of information with you today. As you know, our new executive director was hired at $201,000 starting this last year. It's fantastic when anyone, especially a woman, can be paid their worth. However, the highest paid executive director over at King County Library was hired at a minimum of $225,000 last year, and that means our director is the second highest paid in her position in the state. According to a survey the Secretary of State did in 2022, FVRL has the lowest paid staff across multiple library positions in the state. Not only are they the lowest paid, 97% of our membership are considered low income in Clark County. Staff that have worked here for over 15 years barely make 75 cents above a living wage. Making $45,000 a year after 14 years of loyalty to the library should not be considered good enough for employees to dare who dare to want to make a career out of serving the community at our library. If we are deserving of having the second highest paid director in the state, our staff are deserving of also being the second highest paid in the state. And if the board is worried about funding higher wages, I'd like to point to the excess revenue FVRL has gathered since 2019. Every year, FVRL has had a surplus that has gone into reserves, and every year, FVRL has never paid 100% of their budget allocated to wages, presumably because of unfilled positions. Since 2019, FVRL has had an excess of almost $4.7 million. Of that money, $3.7 million was budgeted for employees and was not spent on employees. FVRL has saved money by having open positions, placed that money into reserves, and then now the library is funding $2.5 million buildings out of those reserves while stating that they don't have money to pay employees more. So to the board, I ask that you look at the money allocated to employees and encourage FVRL to do better because they can afford to do better. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Bonnie Cobb Ellis. I live in Skamania County and work at the Cascade Park branch. I began my career with FVRL over 17 years ago. I've seen many changes, including board members and executive directors, but the changes to the economy and the rise of inflation and cost of living, especially in the Pacific Northwest, is staggering. Unfortunately, FVRL has not kept up with those increases in the way of wages. FVRL used to pay dollars above minimum wage, but currently has decided that paying pennies above minimum wage is enough, while administrative staff enjoy six-figure incomes or close to it. In 2009, after only having worked here for less than 3 years, I was making $12.28 and minimum wage was $8.55, a $3.73 difference. The amount of training and skills that come with what is considered entry level is significant. Frontline staff, PSAs, and SLAs are the first point of contact for our amazing patron base. Our facility staff make sure everything is delivered in a timely manner and that our buildings are maintained for patrons to enjoy. All the staff that work behind the scenes processing items and fulfilling requests are vital to getting patrons the items you see on our shelves and the electronic content. Without these professionals, we would not have a library. They deserve to be paid an equitable wage for the type and amount of work they do. The cost of living in Washington state has skyrocketed in the last few years, and FVRL has not kept up with the increases. In everything it takes to live on a daily basis, there are too many staff members that need social services to live, leaving them unable to actively participate in the community they serve. You cannot let this continue. The sooner wages increase to a living wage, the easier it will be for you to create a budget that works for everyone. The cost of living is not going to decrease, and we need to let staff know they can count on FVRL to be a leader and do what's right. Pay your staff what is required to live and what they deserve. Our staff are an incredibly knowledgeable, empathetic, highly skilled group of people. Do the right thing and give the staff the dignity they deserve to live and participate in our community. Thank you.
Randy Schmidt, followed by Margot Logan, followed by Ray Lanning.
Thank you for letting me speak to you today. I wanted to introduce you to Chloe. Chloe went through a period in her mid-teens when she felt uncomfortable with the changes happening in her body due to puberty. She was coached that those feelings meant she was born in the wrong body, and the solution was to transition as a boy. With a mere 10-minute counseling session, medical professionals prescribed Chloe testosterone injections, and 2 years later, a double mastectomy. Now at 19 years old, Chloe is among thousands of other young people like her in the United States, is suffering the effects of altering her body and what that means to her moving forward in life. Chloe recently testified in Congress, "My childhood was ruined, along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. We need to stop telling 12-year-olds that they were born wrong, that they are right to reject their own bodies, and that they should feel uncomfortable with their own skin." Chloe's transition did not make her life stable or happier. In fact, it actually moved her further down the path of suicide, the path that the experts told her family that the transition would avoid. Thankfully, Chloe did not end her life and now advocates for young people to not transition to someone who you are not. Due to Chloe's story, and many like her, I advocate that the library board develop a policy to permanently ban drag queen story hours at libraries within their oversight, since the explicit goal of the Drag Queen Story Hour is to cause gender confusion in children like Chloe, per their own website. Fight for the Chloes in your care and do the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Margot Logan. I'm a two-state person. I live in Portland. My library in Portland that I go to, it's a dump. It's an absolute dump. And when Oregon allowed the library to just get money, they just let the libraries go to pieces. I was a DSHS social worker, CPS investigator. I was an AFSCME when it was voluntary. In 2004, the AFSCME was working with the legislature to make a public union. Nobody in my building wanted a public union. So the AFSCME is not a good union. They're not supportive. If a worker actually needed any help, they didn't get help from AFSCME. So I'm not sure what's going on here. The tone that I hear from these union workers, I think it's a wrong tone to take if you're working and you're negotiating with somebody. And it doesn't seem like most of the members have really looked at the budget.
Can you pause your time, please? Please be respectful in the audience. If you can't stay quiet, I'll ask you to step outside. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, and when I was in the union, we had a union management team, and we worked with the union management to make services better for our clients. We didn't talk about wages. And then as soon as the public union got in, the next day, even before the law got enacted, they disbanded our union management team. So we couldn't even do the good work we wanted to do. So I would just really let people know what they're looking at. AFSCME representatives must be really poking these people to really come here and be angry and act out. And the library has been wonderful.
Please hold your comments in the audience. Thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you can't keep your comments down. Thank you. Go ahead and finish up, but I think your time, or
Well,
she gave you a little bit more time. Go ahead.
Okay. So AFSCME, I see it's on the agenda, and I see it says contract. So I'm thinking AFSCME is involved with this. So, and I organized a union in my life in Yakima. And that's kind of where I found out too, that once we got the union in, the union didn't really care about the individuals. They just wanted to get in, and they wanted the money. And AFSCME was so bad back in my time that the AFSCME representatives had their own union for their top bosses.
Hi there. Let's see. Can you hear me okay? Okay, sorry. My name is Raymond Lanning. I've been here about 10 years with FVRL. I'm a PSA at Cascade Park. I came here from Bank of America. I worked there for 15 years in IT. I was making close to 80,000 when I left, but I came to a realization that I was working for an organization that I did not believe had the best interests of people in mind. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to work. I wanted to do good. I didn't want to look back on my life and say, hey, all I was interested in was money. So I left Bank of America. I came here. I got a job with the library doing public service. Okay, that's what I consider myself, as a public servant, just like all these fine people that I get to represent on the bargaining team. Okay, we're not here to toot our own horn. We're not here to, we're not looking to make a lot of money. We just want enough to live on. That's it. This is not news to the library. I've been tooting this horn for 8 years since I joined the union and have been on the bargaining teams. I mean, we have brought facts time and time again before the bargaining team, and it just doesn't make much difference. We're still at minimum wage, starting wage. I just want to say that these people deserve the dignity of a living wage. Living wage right now is close to $30 in this area. The other libraries are a hell of a lot closer, but I mean, you know, we're not even trying here. It's my fault. Thank you very much. One last thing. I do have the petition here. We will turn it over later this week. But well over 500 of our community members and staff. We really just need this to work. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kevin Lux, followed by Don Steinke, followed by Kay Ellison.
Hello and good evening to the members of the board. My name is Kevin Lux, a proud resident of Vancouver and patron of FVRL. As a child visiting the original building down the street, I remember hopping on the amber-colored screens, those computers with the plastic keyboard covers, to look up Tintin and Dick Tracy comics to take home and read with joy. And in 2016, I studied for my journeyman electrical license exam in this building here, which was also built by union electricians. I'm here as Secretary Treasurer of the Southwest Washington Central Labor Council, representing approximately 15,000 union workers in Clark, Skamania, and Klickitat counties. Members include the following workers in the community, a community that cares about library workers. We are C-Tran workers, stage and theater workers, SAG-AFTRA, linemen, bakers, hotel workers, social workers, letter carriers, office professionals, machinists, plumbers and pipe fitters, laborers, iron workers, operating engineers, teamsters, insulators, bricklayers, tile setters, boiler makers, painters, drywall finishers, glazers, flooring installers, elevator constructors, nurses, firefighters, healthcare professionals, and electricians like myself. We, the workforce of the community, urge you to reflect the values of your heart in the numbers in the budget, specifically for a living wage for all the library workers who serve this institution and us so faithfully. And with the time I've got, I'll leave you with this. If you can read, thank a teacher. If you can read at nighttime when it's dark outside, thank an electrician. But most importantly, if you can read a really great book that someone else helped you find, thank a librarian. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Don Steinke. Thank you for your service up front. I'm going to be on a committee starting tomorrow, Clark County Climate Committee, and we start our work tomorrow. But our meeting is 3 hours long once a month. I don't know how long this one is, but anyway, I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 43 years mostly at Fort Vancouver High School, and I believe in supporting a living wage job. And I don't think anybody up front or behind me would think that what you pay is a living wage job. And I urge you to do what you can to make it living. I think that's, oh, well, I didn't write it down. I just found out when I got here. In America, America has become a place where people can't afford to live where they work. There's no affordable housing anywhere near where they work. It's even become a place where people can't afford to have kids. And we need to do better. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kay Ellison, and I will try to read my own handwriting. I have enjoyed Fort Vancouver Regional Library for 40 years. I am a retired teacher librarian, elementary, and I'm also the president of Friends of Vancouver Community Library, and I'm a very happy patron. Today, when the Friends of the Community Library met, there were some new people there, and so we introduced ourselves and then said, what's something we like about the library? You would have loved to hear what everyone had to say. So in 1991, when I was finishing up my master's to become a teacher librarian, one of my last classes was to do a practicum here at Fort Vancouver Regional Library. It was a great experience, meeting staff and learning what workers do. And between graduating and beginning a teacher librarian job in the fall, I was asked by Fort Vancouver Regional Library to apply for a job here. And so it wasn't what I wanted to do because I wanted to teach kids, but it also, I realized that teaching paid a lot more money. And now 30 years later, our society has changed where even minimum wage just isn't enough money for people. Even if you get $5 more an hour than what the minimum wage is, it's just too much rent money to pay. I love the library, and I would just like the people who work here to get paid enough. And I want to thank you for what you do. I honor, this is a hard job. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you. That concludes our hour for public comment. Again, if you feel like you didn't get a chance to speak, you can send public comment always through our website, and we'll be sure to get it. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Megan, are you on? Would
Yes, I'm here.
you like to talk about the expenditures before we move on? We're having, let's just take a minute break. There's a little bit of commotion here. Hold on one second. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Those of you online, we needed to take just a quick break. Megan, if you'd like to go ahead and start us off with the consent agenda portion again, you may go ahead.
Okay. I didn't have the figures in front of me, but I reviewed the expenditures for December 2023, and they were in order. I think Vikram reviewed January. And did we already have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Are you looking for a second?
We had a motion. I just need to.
Okay. Okay. I second.
Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move this to a roll call vote.
Penny Love Hensley.
Aye.
Megan Dugan.
Aye.
Vikram Katwani.
Aye.
Marie Coffey.
Aye.
Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole. Christy Morgan.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll now move on to the reports portion of our meeting. First up will be Jennifer with FVRL organizational report.
Thank you. Good evening.
Obviously, we have a long agenda today because we had a canceled meeting last month due to the weather conditions we all experienced. Thank you for that experience, welcoming me here. So the report represents both December and January happenings. Atar Bengal, the finance manager, is no longer with the library system. He left on January 31st. And so as we recruit for a new finance director, Christine Smith from our CPA firm TDJ CPAs that we've worked with for over a decade is assuming more duties to fill in while that vacancy is present. And you'll hear from her later during the finance report. On page 13 of the packet is the 2023 circulation statistics. And just pointing out that year over year, we had a 6.13% increase in circulation, primarily due to the continued strong increase in electronic use of the collection. On page 16, I want to point out that the foundation has teamed up again with the Beaches Restaurant for the Give Back program, which 50% of your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can go to all three, will be given back to the foundation. And I also sadly read in the Columbian yesterday, I believe, that the couple that owns the restaurant for the last 29 years, they're retiring. So let's make it a great give back day for the library. We also have an upcoming Love Your Library event that's also in your packet, and that's coming up on April 27th, and I hope you'll be able to attend that as well. On page 26 through 29 of your packet is a new approach to looking at the statistics of the library. I feel it's really important to highlight how the library is performing from a use of the library. So on page 26, you'll see the circulation and visitor count. Again, January over January of 23, we are up 3.9% in circulation, but down in visitor count, and that's because we were closed for a week in January at all locations. You also see at the bottom just a visual description of physical versus digital circulation. On page 27, you'll notice that we are looking on that page at visitor versus checkouts by location. So you get a sense. For example, we're here in Vancouver, and Vancouver has more checkouts than visitors, but it's fairly close, while Cascade Park at the top has far more checkouts than visitors, almost by half. So this again just gives you a sense of the use that's happening within those branches. And then the other thing I'll point out on page 29 is the cardholder percentage. So during the pandemic, we have certainly lost some cardholders over that time, and we're looking at right now having a 26% cardholder rate. So if you take the whole population served, the 541,000, only 26% of the people in our service area have a card. So we have work to do, and that I hope will be a focus of our strategic planning and engagement process later this year. But we're going to keep a lot of focus on that in our outreach efforts and our engagement efforts as well. On page 32, I'd like you to mark your calendar for Tuesday, May 14th from 3 to 5 p.m. to celebrate 20 years of the La Center Community Library. I apologize, that's not easy to read in your packet, but if you want to know what it says, we'll get you a real bookmark. But basically, it talks about really the pride of the circa 1905 building that became a library 20 years ago, and looking forward to celebrating with the community for that. I attended the biannual Washington Public Library Directors Meeting on February 8th and 9th in Burien Public Library. It was great to meet many of the other library directors around the state and talk about many issues that we all are facing as public libraries, and also discuss legislation that was on the agenda for this legislative session affecting libraries. Then on February 14th, Valentine's Day, it was Love Your Library at the Capitol as we went to Library Legislative Day
Hello?
in Olympia.
Jennifer, we have some new people online that need to be muted.
Yes, they're taking care of that. Just 1 minute. Okay. So I was able to meet with representatives from the 17th and 20th district. Obviously, it's a very busy, condensed, short session, so not everyone was available to meet, but the meetings I had were very positive about the library. Certainly, people in the 20th very excited about the Woodland Library opening up and want to come to that. And then meeting with Representative Kevin Waters from the 17th district. I also have presented an overview of FVRL to the League of Women Voters on Saturday, February 10th. Upcoming, you have books in front of you. If someone wants to hold one up, I don't have one. This is our Revolutionary Reads for this year. It's called Free. And 2 Years, 6 Lives and the Long Journey Home by Lauren Kessler. We have the main event coming up on April 17th. The books are available in, they are available right now in the libraries for the book groups, and in March they'll be available for the general public. We, this year, it's about building more understanding around the challenges facing individuals re-entering society following incarceration. So I hope you're able to read the book, share it with your neighbors, and come to the events. Any questions?
I have a question about how the new data is being calculated for the visitors versus checkouts.
Sure. So checkouts is an automated count using our integrated library system. So that's an automated number every time a checkout occurs or a renewal, et cetera. And the visitor count is based on what we call people counters. So when you go in and out of the location, there is a count. These numbers have been being tracked forever because it's part of an annual state report that gets gathered, but it just wasn't in this packet. And I think the transparency is important.
So the discrepancy we're seeing is how many folks show up to the library and check something out that we're looking at?
We're just, the visitors is just to show you how many visitors come in. In some cases, there are fewer visitors taking more items. In other cases, it's almost same number of visitors as items checked out. So fewer items per person being checked out.
And if someone is coming in to get holds or has something dropped off to them in outside, how does
Like
that
books by mail?
or
the book-
curbside, yeah.
Oh, curbside. Well,
How does
that's
that-
still going to be counted as a checkout,
Mhm.
but they didn't actually come in the building, so they're not a visitor.
And if someone is coming in for like a minute to grab something,
They would be counted as a visitor.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jennifer. We'll move on now to the Vancouver Mall Community Library Branch Report with Brandon Cruz.
branch manager of the Vancouver Mall Library. If you don't know, we are located in the southeast side of the Vancouver Mall, right next to JCPenney's. So this is our exterior. This is my awesome staff, which, by the way, also my favorite picture of all time of us, because it looks like, I don't know, looks like the secession picture or something like that. In the middle there is Cynthia. She's sitting down. She had been with the district for 35 years and had been working at the Vancouver Mall Library in various things, lastly as a senior branch supervisor for 30 years, and she retired last year. So we were very sad to see her go. She's put her heart and soul into the location, has her fingerprints on everything. But we were very lucky to have Lois come in, who transferred from Ridgefield. We stole her, now Stevenson. Both, actually, yes, both. Yeah, it was both. Most recently, Stevenson. And so we were able to steal her, and she has been integrating in, and she has such new ideas, and it's very nice to have someone there and be able to bounce some different ideas off of her. So these are some of our fun social media posts. I am always amazed at what my staff can do for these book faces. They do such a great job of doing it. And that's me up in the far right. And I gotta say, I'm jealous of the tattoo and that picture, that book cover. Maybe have to go get something new. So now we're going to start talking about some of the programs that we've been doing this year, over the last year. So we had Clark County Food Bank come in, which is a really great opportunity to partner with them. They came in, they talked about food and how to prepare and how to shop, and how to make sure, that you're doing it healthily and efficiently and costly. And then everyone who came not only left with a recipe for a nice, quick, easy stir fry that is fairly cheap to do, but also with a grocery bag worth of food so that they could go home and practice it out themselves. This was one of our programs that we really liked. So the goal for the kids was to build contraptions and to put as many things in as possible, have the ball roll down and ring the bell. And these kids came up with some amazing ideas, and it was really interesting to see them kind of working through and trying to figure out, like, how do I get this here? And the ball goes here, but then it stops. And then like figuring out the problems and working through and building solutions. And so it was a great opportunity for the kids to kind of work with some hands-on STEM stuff and get to kind of figure out. Plus they built these really cool things that I'm like, yeah, I would have never been able to figure out, like, the way that their brains work is just very interesting. We did a couple of the district summer archer library programs. So we have a ramps leading up to our where we keep most of the adult collection. And so we did the build a little box car, and you got to race it down. And then we did a book building, and so the kids got to come in and make a book. And one of the kids, she was so excited because she's been writing a book and it was really good, but she didn't have a book actually for it. So she was going to go home and transfer everything over. And she was so very excited about being able to transfer her written story into her actual book. Next, we did Sew a Creature. So you get some felt, you get some cotton, and you get stuff it in there. I will say my daughter did this program. And since then, we have been sewing so much stuff. She absolutely loved it. You got some really cute little creatures and critters. And now my house is full of totally not trash, cute little creatures and critters all over. Please don't tell her I said that. This year, or last year, 2023, was the 40th anniversary of Fort Vancouver having a library in the mall. So we're not in the same location that we've been the whole time. And you can see that middle section right there, that's a paper clipping from the first month after the library had been in the mall. So you can kind of see how much bigger it was. It was lit on the other end of the mall, down on the basement, not basement, the floor. But so we did, because apparently the 80s were 40 years ago, which I don't agree with. We did a big 80s party, so the kids could make scrunchies and slap bracelets, and we had Rubik's cubes, and those guys, they solved those things so fast. It was remarkable. And then we had a bunch of fun 80s themed Nintendo art of us and the staff, which you can see there with our little pixelated push carts, which warms a little part of me because that's where I'm from. We also did dinosaur terrariums. So the kids got to come in and make little terrariums and with little plastic dinosaurs. And we brought down Jenny. So Jenny is our paper mache dinosaur head who normally sits looking out of the library into the mall. But we bring her down for certain situations, and the kids all love her. That little kid down there just he'd like put some rocks in, and then he'd get up and go look at Jenny, and then go back and put some rocks in and go like stare her down. It was great. So one of the great things about being in the mall is we have, while our actual space is fairly small, we do have their whole mall to work with at times. So for the summer, we brought in 2 summer performers. The first one, Cheyenne Familia, which is a great performance. And it's not, I don't know, if you know the mall, it's kind of, they call it the center court. It's kind of in the dead center in the middle of the mall. And there is areas up top, and there's areas down below, and there are people standing up top watching, and people down below watching, and it's a really great opportunity for us to interact with people who might not know that we have a library there, but also just to remind people who may not be coming to the library, like, hey, we are here, we have these super fun things going on. And we also brought in the Paradise of Samoa, who did some great Polynesian dancing, and same thing. We had lots of different families come up to us afterwards and talk about like, oh, this is so great. Like my family's from there, or my family's from here. And, you know, being able to have some cultural experiences and show some kids some stuff, but also being open and showing it to a lot of the different people who may not be normally coming to the library. The other great thing about being at the mall is they have a lot of big programs. So this was from our CUVCon. So this is what is becoming, question mark, an annual event that the mall is putting on. It's like a comic book pop art convention. And so we had some members from some cosplay who came and did some pictures. We got the stand-ups getting some pictures up front. We also did some cosplay repair. So if people, you know, tear steam, need something glued back on, they can come up and get some help with that. You go to the next one. We also did everyone's favorite button making, because button making is great, and who doesn't love button making? And then you get great things like Darth Vader reading books. You know, who doesn't love that? We also had Booville, which is another one of the mall's huge events that they do annually. This is around Halloween. I think this year they had close to 1,000 people come in for it. So we had the foundation was awesome enough and helped us, and we got some books, and so we were able to give out books to people. We also had some crafts there, so they can make some masks and stuff like that for some more costumes. And this was a really great opportunity because, you know, you were out there able to give away free books, which is always one of my favorite things to do. But then again, letting people know that the library's out there, being involved in an event that's right there in our location, in our space, and being like, hey, we're just right up there, and getting people to learn more about us. And then one of the things that we've been doing a lot this year is what we're just calling pop-up programs. So we find that a lot of the times we don't get a ton of people for our programs. We're a small space. We're in kind of a weird location. Like, people don't tend to think of us, but we get tons of people coming in and out all the time. So one of the things that we've done for a while is we'll just set out a table with butcher paper on it and let people just come in and draw, and they get a draw on the table. It's a great place for a lot of people to come and relax for a little bit, 'cause we've been shopping for an hour and don't really want to drag the kids around anymore. But it's a great, come draw on a table. It's one of the few times you can draw on a table. And these have actually been fairly popular, and been getting a good response from them. And in my never-ending quest to change the library, we only did a couple things this year. Worked with a CMD, and we got some new signage. So that we got a nonfiction sign, a fiction sign, and a teen sign, which has really helped to in our directional. We're not big, but like we're big enough that like don't just want to be like, yeah, it's up, just go up there. So it's been really great because a lot of times when people come in, first of all, they think we're a bookstore, so you have to dissuade them of that. And then we're like, no, you can actually just like check out the books for free. And sometimes you have to fight them on that. But you know, having the signs up there and the wayfinding has really helped people, you know, get a bit more comfortable and come in and know what they're actually looking for. And then here is our fun stuff. So this is our some of our stats for the year. As you can see, we had increases in a lot of things, except for a slight decrease in circulation. A huge increase in programs due largely to the fact of doing programs all the year versus the past, but also because the mall has gone back to doing their massive programs, so we get to do a lot more. I mean, we had more than 300 people come for Boo Bill in and of itself, so which is all of 2022 by itself. We are still cruising along as one of the top library card sign up branches because we get so many people who come in who are just walking around the mall and going, oh, I haven't thought about the mall in forever, or the library in forever. Cool, get a card, get some books. And so it's a really great opportunity for us to interact with them, remind them that we're here, remind them that the library's here, we're going to start showing some of their services and interacting that way. Any questions? All right.
Thank you so much. Next, we have the November and December financial statements with Christine Smith.
Sorry, you can call me Hop Along, I guess. While your November financials are included in your packet, I would like to focus your attention to page 37, which are the December financials. Since they are cumulative, I thought it would be more efficient to just jump to kind of the last month of the year and the year as a whole. As Jennifer introduced me, I am Christine Smith. I am serving an acting role while you're recruiting actively for this position. I've been with TDJ CPA for 6 years, but have more than 25 years of public accounting and public service. I was the accounting manager, internal auditor, budget analyst, and senior accountant with the City of Vancouver for almost 15 years prior to leaving and joining TDJ. So I remember taking a tour of this building as it was being built. So if you would start on page 37, which is your cash report, I'd like to point out that if you compare the first line of that report, which is your December 31, 2022 ending balance, to the cash balance of December 31, 2023, overall, we've had a approximately 1.9 decrease in cash. This is due in large part to the use of capital reserves of $2.5 million related to the Woodland project, which is just about $600,000, and the Grand Boulevard Operations Center remodel, which was about $1.9 million. If you look at the operations independent of capital, you will see that we were able to actually bring in $615,000 from operations to the reserve with that 2.5. So that nets us at the $1.8 million decrease. So 2.5 down, 615 up. To add a little perspective to that, you would have to go back to 2019 to find a lower number being brought into reserves. As of December 31st, 2023, we are at $8.3 million for operating reserves to start the year. This is meant to provide us cash flow during the year because our largest revenue source, which of course is property taxes, we only see coming in around April and October. Our goal is to cover 3 to 4 months of operating expenses. If you look at your operating budget for 2024, without regards to the capital expenditures, this $8.3 million only represents 3.5 months of operations. So it's just right at our goal to keep things going while we're waiting for cash flows from our large revenue sources. If you're moving on to page 38, this is our revenue page. Of course, property taxes is our largest revenue source, and overall, we were right on budget for our property taxes. While you can look at the 4 areas that we collect property taxes, Skamania, Clark County, Klickitat, and Cowlitz, you'll see some slightly over 100% and some slightly under. What that means is when you're slightly over 100%, we are collecting some of those property taxes that might be delinquent or in arrears. And if you're looking at collections slightly under 100%, it means unfortunately some of those property taxes could be going in arrears and we're not collecting our full revenue. If you look at the general taxes, so if you look at areas that are above in the tax area, our budget, these are the general taxes, which is primarily your timber excise tax, leasehold excise tax, and then the federal in lieu of. These items are significantly above budget. However, I want to point out that a lot of that stems from problematic issues of really nailing down the forecast of those items, particularly the timber excise tax. It's a tax that comes in from the sale of timber, and it flows from the state to the counties, and then the counties down through the municipalities and the special purpose districts. And there are several priorities. There's just a massive calculation that goes along with that to decide how that revenue is going to come down. So it is sometimes difficult to project that revenue. And also, we've done a little bit of cleanup, and you can see if you were kind of to look at it as a combined, we're pretty much right on target as it looks combined. So we think, although I wasn't involved with the budgets for many years here, we think that some of that might be coming from confusion of what we thought was flowing into each revenues. But if you look at them as a whole, we're really right on track with those types of revenue sources. One other item to point out in the miscellaneous section is down in the investment area. We are above our budget on the investment earnings, and that's just indicative of the market. While interest rates are higher, if you were trying to borrow money, they're also higher for banks and banking and investment, and just to entice you to come in and keep your deposits there. So we are slightly earning above budget for our investments. I also want to note that at the very bottom of this, there is a transfer in from reserves. While not a true revenue source, this is an inflow that we anticipated of the use of that $2.5 million worth of reserves to cover the capital expenditures for the year. Finally, on page 39, this is your expenditure area. Globally, looking at personnel services, we are right on budget at 96.15% of budget. The budget for personnel services is 56% of our revenue budgets and 59% of our expense budget. Without regards to capital expenditures, we are looking at personnel expenses being 64% of our operating budget and of our operating revenues, and 66% of our total operating expenses. So it's our largest area of expenses, and we're really dialing in and meeting budget expectations in that area. You will also see in the library books and materials, this did materialize at 71.42% or $544,000 under budget. We are carefully monitoring that area in the future and making sure that we're spending and getting materials into our library on a timely basis. I did want to point out that if you recall at the very front of our conversation when we talked about cash, that our operations brought in $615,000 worth of that increase in cash. If we were not under budget in this particular area, that 615 would have been significantly lower. So that underspending, unfortunately, on that area is what brought in some of the savings of our operating cash. Overall, other changes and services, which is kind of that bottom section there, this has actualized at 90.47% at budget. While you'll see some variances among the line items that are in this area, many underspent and some overspent, the underspending did help cover the overspending areas. Just to share a bit about this, one of those over budget areas is your repair and maintenance budget, which is at 130.83% of your budget. I do want to share that repairs and maintenance is not just repairs and maintenance to your physical buildings, but these are also repairs and maintenance expenses for our technology assets as well. Software and hardware technology, it totaled for $579,000 of these expenses. We had 5 properties this year that had HVAC work done totaling $189,000. 2 of those properties, Three Rivers location, that HVAC work was $90,000. And here in our downtown Vancouver location, that cost was $32,000. Our Cascade Park and Goldendale location each had repairs totaling $28,000. And the old operations center prior to us moving out experienced $58,000 in repairs. Moving down to the very last section, which is your capital area, capital expenditures were 76% of the budget. The biggest contributor, of course, to this is timing on some of the Woodland expenditures and even the Grand Boulevard expenditures coming in slightly under budget. And to explain that, remember that we report to you on a cash basis, which means I don't report expenditures to you until I pay for them. So today, as a matter of fact, we cut the last check for the retainage for the Grand Boulevard project, which was today a check written for $120,000 for that project. So when you see us under budget here is because we had anticipated fully paying for all of that, and some of that didn't come in and meet requirements to be paid until today. Also, we are looking at total expenditures for the year for Woodland at $1.7 million and the Grand Boulevard as reported here at $2.86 million. The remaining $300,000 in that building owned section was work that we did in several of our locations related to carpeting and tile. But overall, we closed the year at 90.4% of budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from those online? No? Okay. Next, we'll have Lee come up for a recruitment overview, please.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come and speak to you today. I'd like to give you an overview of kind of our metrics, our hiring process, kind of the demographic information, our hiring process, and then a summary of the vacancies that were some of the recruitments that we're doing right now. Demographic information. So go ahead. I forgot to give you the cue. One more. There you go. So I'm looking for some feedback after the presentation. If these aren't demographics that you're interested in knowing, great. We can, I just picked some things that I thought you might want to know. So if you look at our age distribution, you can see that our largest group of employees at 80 are between 34 and 44 years of age. If our median age for the workforce is 47 years old. So we're an older workforce. We have 26 employees that are over 64 years old. So not young, but we are spread out over all the age grades. So go ahead for the next one. Length of service. I love talking about this one because when you look, you can see that we have a long back up. You can see that we have a really a lot of longevity here at Fort Vancouver Regional Library. We have, but the majority of our employees are the 6 years or more. We have 72 people that have been here over 14 years. We have one employee who's been with us 43 years and is still 8 years short of retirement age. I think he started when he was 15. So a lot of people come here, they stay here a long time. They're very loyal, and we appreciate that we have a group of employees with so much longevity. And go ahead and go to that next one, and it's looking pretty crap. Yeah, it's got like words in the printout. So do you want to go one more and just see what that looks like? Ooh, even worse. Okay. What this one for the audience isn't going to help you very much, but for the board members, these are our staff demographics compared to the counties, the 3 counties that we have. Would you back up one more to Clark County? This is an area that we continue to be very challenged with, in that our goal is to have the demographics of our staff mirror those of the communities that we serve. And we've done several things to try to work our way towards better demographics in meeting that goal. We've done, we attended a public employer career fair at Employment Security, a job fair, and we found that that really helped us get a lot of candidates for our PSA pool that we had open at the time. So it has helped. We also have been doing some different things with advertising to the smaller communities in the gorge. When we have a vacancy, we've been trying to advertise on both sides of the river up there, and using the radio station, the Spanish speaking radio station. But we still have a long way to go to get our communities to match, to get our staffing to match our communities. One of the areas that we have no employees right now is Native American Alaskan Native. And some of the challenges are that if we can lose 1 employee or 2 employees and our demographic statistics go to 0. So given that we don't have a large group of non-white employees, it can sometimes be really challenging to meet those statistics. We've used some different tools to try to recruit differently. We've looked at our skills assessments to make sure that we're not having some implicit bias that keeps people from passing them. So we have been looking at the various things that we've done. Megan?
Thank you. I'm sorry, since the graphics didn't come through at all, I'm not sure what you're talking about right now, Lee, when you're just saying the demographics. Well, are we still talking about age and longevity, or is there something else?
No, we're talking about Asian, Black, and African American, the
race and ethnicity, or okay.
Race and
Sorry,
ethnicity.
I just wasn't, I don't see anything on the graphic. So
No, for some reason it didn't show up the way it should. Yeah, oh yeah, we'll post it, give it to you guys. It'll be part of the board packet. So, right? Mm-hmm. So the next 2 slides are Skamania and Klickitat County, so that the board members that have the nice, pretty presentation can see what our statistics are compared to our staff demographics. So again, just trying to give you a snapshot of how we are trying to mirror the communities that we're in, and kind of those, this will be a metric we'll continue to report out on, and we'll continue to work on how can we improve in these areas. So if you go ahead and advance 2 more slides. 1 more. You may or may not be aware that we have a multilingual program for employees. If we have an employee that speaks a language other than English, we pay them a 5% premium to do programming and or help us with materials. One of our communications staff members speaks Spanish, so they help us develop materials and advertising in Spanish. They are required to pass a skills assessment through a third-party vendor that we have, that they're able to read, write, and speak fluently in the languages that we're compensating them for. We currently have at the Stevenson employee drives the bookmobile, and she also does programming in Spanish. And we have a librarian at Cascade Park that is currently going through the process of being assessed so that they can do programming in Spanish. So we've tried to focus on, haven't specifically recruited for the language, but if we have an employee that joins us that speaks the language, no matter really where they work or what job class they have, we encourage them to go through the assessments and receive the premium pair for that. Next slide. Turnover rate. This is a turnover rate for us for the last 4 years. As you can see, it ranges between 11 and last year was 13.57%. There were, I just have some numbers for you. In 2020, that's 27 people. 2021, that's 29. 22 is 31 people, and 23 is 34. Of that group, 20 of these employees during those 4 years retired. 21 of these employees were substitutes, so people that weren't in a regular position. That turnover could be that they were hired in a permanent position, but it's not uncommon for us to have a lot of movement through that substitute pool. 14 of these individuals moved out of area. I do an exit interview with each employee who has resigned, and it's a confidential interview. I summarize it and share it with Jennifer, with the executive director. And really what we're looking for is, what can we do better? What have we done well? And any kind of feedback that they want to give us, and kind of the reasons that they're leaving. You heard earlier, wages are part of that. Although in the last 4 exit interviews that I've done in December and January, that wasn't the primary reason for people leaving. Of those 4, 2 were moving out of town or out of state. The other one had found another job in a different career path, but it paid better. And the 4th person left to go back to school. So I don't want to minimize. Wages are important, and wages are part of people's reason for leaving, but we have not had a mass exodus based solely on wages. So that's our turnover rate. If you change to the next slide. Total hires by year. 2020, we hired 11 people, most of them in January, February, and March before the pandemic. You can see that in 21, it was a lower number. That was just as we were kind of coming back and opening up. We'd carried a lot of vacancies through that time period. We didn't lay people off, but we also didn't add a lot of people while we were working in 2 different shifts, and while we had a lot of people that were working less than full time when we were closed. So let's see. We're back up to 45 last year. That is consistent with what we had in 2019, our pre-pandemic numbers. So again, the 45 to 50 is kind of our average in a normal year prior to the pandemic.
Did you give a number on how many, you gave the percentage of retention, but how many folks are we losing annually?
Well, we lost, let me go back. In 2023, we lost 34 people.
Okay.
So
seems to kind of stay within a certain balance.
Yeah, between 27 and 34 over the 4 years. So
And are those new positions that are coming in typically or replacing the ones that are?
Most of it is replacing, although there have been some new positions or positions that maybe we took an SLA and created 2 PSAs out of it. So our FTE count would have gone up, but and our head count would have gone up, but more than our FTE count. Okay, this next one has a lot of really cool animations. So I'm going to move to hiring process. And I'm going to look at Rhonda because you're going to hit it 5 different times. Okay, you ready? You ready? So just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. The hiring process, we start with posting a position, and then that's your cue. Then we're going to screen and review applications, and then we're going to move on to a skills assessment, and I'll talk in more detail on these 5 steps. Then an interview process. We do 1 or 2 interviews depending on the job. And then finally, we do a reference check. So we check 3 professional references of our finalists. So let's move on to that next slide. Does Vic have a hand up? Vic?
Yeah, so are all these steps done in-house, or we do hire external agencies for all these positions?
Do we hire
External agency to do all the recruiting work,
No,
or is
all
it
of
done
this
in-house?
recruitment is done in-house.
Okay.
Our HR manager, Andrea, is our recruitment person, but we also have 3 HR generalists that take certain parts of this process and or have responsibility for a specific job class. Like Jessica Parsons is our substitute facilitator, and she also has responsibility for the PSA pool hiring that we do 2 to 3 times a year. So she facilitates it all, but it's all internal recruiting. It's all in-house.
Thank you.
So Rhonda, next one. So this is our hiring process. So I want to kind of walk through and give you more information on each step. So when a vacancy occurs, we don't normally just fill it. We're going to look at the job description and make sure it still accurately reflects the work that needs done. We're going to say, is this the right place for the position? If it's maybe a public services assistant or a senior library assistant, do we need to refill it? Is it in the right spot? Is it at the right job class? And then we may need to hold it vacant to recoup the cash out we do for vacation and sick leave. Usually if it's a public service facing position, we're not going to hold it. We're going to fill it and make up the difference of that cash out someplace else. But, and normally it takes us probably, if it's like our finance director, that's about a 2-month process for us from opening to when we get an offer made. So there's a little bit of cost savings that happens with that. Once we've decided to fill the position, we're going to post it internally. Our collective bargaining agreement for WPEA requires that we post it internally for 7 days. If there is a candidate, or if there's an employee that has, I'll call it bid on the position, and it's a transfer for them, they currently have permanent status in that job class, the most senior person that has bid will be awarded that position. If there aren't any transfer candidates, then we're going to look and see if there's anyone for whom this would be a promotion. So they make it makes more money, has more responsibilities. We're going to do an interview process and then appoint that person. With our AFSCME positions, the way the contract is written, we post internally and externally at the same time because we may have no internal candidates that apply. An example of that is the senior public services librarian. We may not have internal candidates. So if we post for 7 days and get no bids and then start a recruitment process, it just puts us behind. So we'll post both internally and externally at the same time for some of those positions. And then finally, there's some positions that we always are going to do an external recruitment. The deputy director is an example of that. Internal candidates are welcome to apply, but it's a national search. So we're going to post it externally as right away so that we gain that time, which got posted today. Yay. Okay, next slide. one of the things that we are real committed, that I'm committed to having us doing here, is a skills assessment. So if a position has what I think of as a hard skill that we can assess for, we do. So an example is the PSA. The PSA candidates do a alphabetizing process. The accounting specialist will probably do an Excel spreadsheet to show us that they know Excel, that they can put information in it, that they can manipulate it around. So not every job, but most jobs, we have a way to assess those hard skills that they tell us on the resume that they have, and we can do an assessment for it. So we do. We then do people that that have passed the skills assessment, we then move to the interview process. And with most positions, we're doing 2 rounds of interviews. We're bringing in the group of candidates that meet the minimum qualifications. We try to have 8 to 10 people, and we're going to do a panel interview with them. We're still doing a lot of those virtually because we have candidates that aren't local. So we recently hired a librarian from Florida, so the first round of interviews they did was not her. I know you looked at her. We've been poaching a lot of people from Florida lately that she doesn't even know, but it's exciting. Anyway, we're going to do that virtual round first. And usually what happens is we'll screen it down out of that process to 2 or 3 people that we want to invite to come in and meet with us in person. The process in both of those interviews, we have a panel. We use behavior-based interview questions. So if you're not familiar with those, we're asking people to tell us about a time that they've done something. So tell us about a time that you resolved a conflict. What did you learn from that? What did you do? And again, we're trying to get people to describe for us what they've done in certain situations. It can be work, it can be personal, but we're looking for the fact that people have done that. Sometimes you'll hear someone say, well, they're a really good interviewer. They said all the right buzzwords. This is to avoid getting to that and really digging into what has your experience been. We usually end up with a finalist out of that process, and we do reference checks. And I'm very committed to reference checks. I think that's where everything that we have done in this process, that's where the rubber hits the road for us. We can validate what the person said and be able to talk to people that they've worked with professionally. The current supervisor is also part of that. We encourage the supervisor or manager to do those reference checks. There's things that you hear when you're talking to someone and we really like the conversation rather than filling out a piece of paper and sending it back. I really like that because you hear the pauses, you hear they're answering the question that you're asking, but maybe there's a different question you should be asking. And it's really, for me, those reference checks just kind of help pull the whole process together. We're going to then carry on. We're going to make a formal job offer. We're going to talk to the person about, are you interested in working here? What's your salary request? And kind of working through that. I like the hiring manager to be able to call and offer the job because it's the start of that relationship. Usually they get to talk to me about money. Usually I'll then call the candidate and talk about money. We do a formal job offer letter. So they get this letter, they sign it. And once they've done that, we have a done deal. So then we do post-offer pre-hire. We do a criminal background check. We have a vendor that does that for us, and we do that on all employees as they come in the door. And then their first day here, they're in new employee orientation. It's in person. It's at our operations center. It's a 1 day. It's 8 hours. We fill their head with lots of stuff, but it really is our opportunity to really give them a good foundation from which to work. They get to meet with the administrative team and get to know us and spend 15-20 minutes with us. They learn about the organization. There's some basic customer service training. We go through our personnel manual. We talk about benefits. Both unions have an opportunity to do a small orientation if we have new union members. We do some training on bloodborne pathogens and show them how, we get out the red bucket and show them the red bucket and go through those things. So really it's designed to help people have a good foundation as they move into the organization. If they're a public services employee, they're going to do a total of 40 hours of training as they move through that first month. 8 of that is going to be the new employee orientation. They also do circulation training for a day with Jewel Ferderer, who is our circulation coordinator. And then they do reference training with the coordinator that does reference services.
I actually have 2 questions.
Sure.
Do we use a software to sort through our resumes when we receive them, or are resumes looked at by
We a little bit of both. In our recruiting software, which is part of our HRIS platform, we can set up some knockout questions. So if someone, let's say a PSA we'll do a question that says, do you have a high school diploma or a GED? If they answer no, they're not gonna move on to that next part because they don't have the minimum quals. But a majority of the application, one of us looks at it.
Okay.
So very, very seldom, even if sometimes we have some knockout questions, depending on how many people, we might go back and double check those. But most of our applications are actually reviewed by one of us in HR.
And then my second question is, you just said that we offer every employee training on reference.
All our public services employees.
Okay, now y'all tell me if this is too much, but tonight I heard folks talking about how they're being asked to do referencing and that they're not qualified, not trained, and it's above their scope of work. Are you saying that they are being trained for that?
They are being trained to do reference. I'm going to look to Jennifer to help me a little bit with this. I'll start and then you can, when I found her, you can come in. Reference is a bit of a continuum. So you walk up to a service point and you say, I'm looking for cookbooks. That's a reference question. And the person should be able to point you to that right place and say, okay, here it is. Here's where you do. I'm thinking about this database. I want to know more. Basic reference questions. If we've told employees and we've trained employees that if the reference check question exceeds your expertise or what you're comfortable with, you bump it to someone else. No one should leave without an answer. We should be able to either put something in Lib Answers or get someone else to come out or a librarian to come out. One of the challenges that is a double-edged sword in some ways, once an employee's been here a while, they can answer reference questions because they have the experience. So they might be able to answer a reference question that a librarian could answer too, because they have that experience. There is what you heard here tonight is there has been a growing trend, especially here at Vancouver, that employees feel that if they're capable of answering a reference question that isn't a basic reference question, then they are working out of class, that they're doing higher level work. From our perspective, everyone should be able to answer the basic reference questions. Yes, you may need more expertise. You may need to be a librarian to answer that question, but we all have tools to bump that up to get to a person that can't answer it. We want our customers to get an answer when they're here.
And to clarify, a reference question can be something like, where are the cookbooks? How do I use, this app for ebooks? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. And of course, I'm trying to dig in, and language is important here. I'm used to describing it as directional questions versus in-depth reference. Most of what happens today in public libraries has transitioned to directional questions. There are people that need more in-depth assistance, and we have librarians to help them with their in-depth questions, whether that's through Lib Answers or making appointments, etc. Directional also includes, I got a new tablet and I need to know how to download an ebook. That's directional.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know how to help the customer do that. So I think that, some of the comments brought up tonight that I heard too, I made note of. There's things that I'm learning. A lot of it was focused on this facility that you heard. It's a large library with many floors and service points. And we have to look at how it's staffed for the use that it gets to make sure that we have the right staffing. That's going to take me some time to do that. But I do think that there's work to be done. In general, for many of our other locations that are single floors or smaller locations, you're going to have a more of a generalist approach to the service. And that's really what the demand calls for. That's just how the movement of society and information has worked. But as a system, we always have people with higher level skills that can answer the higher level questions. And we need to be able to make sure our staff have the training and knowledge of how to make those transfers when needed.
Okay, thanks both for clarification. Okay, we're almost done. Hang in there. That's the hiring process. I wanted to leave you with what our major recruitment activities are at this point in time. Finance director, we're moving to a second round of interviews next week. We have finalists that we're moving forward. Deputy director, the announcement did go out today. That's a national recruitment. So we're advertising in national, on national job search places and publications. So that one will take a little bit longer because we are spending a significant, well, not significant, we're spending money for that recruitment and we want to get our money's worth. And candidates at that level need a little bit of time to apply. And we're welcoming people internally to apply. So, oh yes, we are. Yeah, we're doing the search. And then we have 2 senior public service librarians positions here at VA. This one has been arduous. This is our 3rd recruitment to fill these positions. We've had a lot of challenges finding someone that was interested in working and qualified candidates. Our first round of interviews was last week, and we do have people to move forward to the second round interview. And I'm going to look at Molly because I think we have some good candidates to consider. Yeah. Is it like woohoo yet? Woohoo. Okay. Okay. That's the, so that's the major ones that we're working on. We do have some senior library assistants here at VA that we're in the recruitment process for. They've been posted for bid. One has, we have a senior bidder and moving into one last Friday, and the other 2 we're doing interviews for. Penny?
I was going to ask on the senior public services librarian, do they have to have an MLIS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, any of the librarians require the MLIS. And just one other comment. Sometimes you'll hear month to month, and I've listened to your meetings too, of how many vacancies there are, et cetera. And one thing I don't think that Lee mentioned that is important is that since the pandemic, the usage in the library has shifted in lots of different ways. We continue to watch that. And even in this library, we're not back to pre-pandemic. So when we think about volume of activity, usage is one. Obviously, the safety and security of the branch is another. We have to make sure that we have the appropriate staff for this facility and not assume that just because we used to have X number of staff, we still need X number of staff in the same makeup. That's what I'm saying that needs to be studied further, that I am starting to really work on and dig into.
So that's my presentation. I want to thank you for your time. You have any questions for me?
I do. I was wondering, are we doing any type of summer internship or things that younger students or people graduating soon could get them interested in library work to get younger people coming to apply at our place?
We do partner with a youth employment service. And I'm going to look at Justin. Is it still yes?
Is Justin speaking? Because we can't hear him online if
Sorry.
he's answering the question.
Yeah, I forgot he's coming.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
Jump in.
Yes, Christy, we partner with ESD 112, which operates the Next Center, which is a workforce development program for students that have recently graduated from high school and need help entering the workforce. We've had a number of their students join us over the past few summers for, I can't say they are library skill building internships, but more general internships for how to well, apply for a job, how to work with a manager, how to develop basic kind of customer service skills. They help with they helped at the Ridgefield grand opening events. They help prepare program materials for our summer at your library programs, that sort of thing.
Thank you.
But we don't have an official high school internship, employment ready.
Like
To
come
work.
work for the summer type. Okay.
No.
Another thing we'll be looking at expanding, because I don't know that we're doing much of it, is working with the library schools and offering directed field work kinds of activities, et cetera. Obviously, we don't have a lot of opportunities for that, but I think we do have some, and that helps us get people interested in the system as well.
Quick question. Do we ask people where they heard about the job or heard about the
Yes, we
position?
do. It's part of our application process.
And can you share some of the trends you're mostly seeing?
We get a lot of response from Indeed. So we advertise there. Not so much our website per
Right.
se, but more where we post things. And there's a lot of, I'm not going to use the right technical term, but there's a lot of employment websites that go through and crawl and pull our stuff out onto that.
Do we post jobs in bulletin boards in each library by chance?
If we're looking, not normally, no. When we have the PSA pool open, we do. We have them put up flyers. If we're trying to recruit at like a Goldendale or a White Salmon Valley, we'll also ask the branch to post on the Facebook page and to also put up some flyers in the branches. Usually our best recruiting is word of mouth in those small communities and kind of people seeing things more so than posting it on a Craigslist or someplace.
Okay, wonderful.
Thanks for your time. I know it's a
Thank you.
long night.
Any questions from online? Okay.
I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the business portion of our meeting. Did you want to talk about the proposed committee or did you want me to talk about that part? Okay, so we were discussing the committees, and as you all know, we have 6 different regularly meeting committees. And so that's, a burden on all the trustees and Jennifer and all the staff that have to stay for these committees. So the thought was that we could combine 2 committees, each kind of by how they fit best together, and see if we can lessen the burden on the trustees, staff, and the ED. You'll see in your packet the draft changes to the committee's structures. So for example, we would have executive and personnel. They would be a combined meeting once a month on the first Thursday. So the meet times are what, is suggested. If it's not working for the majority of the committee, as usual, we can work with that. But the combinations would be executive personnel, finance facilities, policy nominating, and then still a foundation liaison. So we wanted to bring that to everyone tonight and get a vote if people are in favor of changing to 3 monthly meetings instead of 6. Are there any questions or discussion about this?
When would you propose that change? Because we're already launched on committee.
Yeah, it is kind of bad timing. I wish that we would have thought of it before, but we didn't. And so what I would do is I would go back and look at what people's requests were. Or I would ask that you guys look at these and put a new request to me probably by next week. But the hope for me would be to have it launched in March if we can get that going. Do you think that would be reasonable? So March.
What about the numbers? I mean, are we going to have, like, for instance, 6 people meeting at the same time? Does that?
No, so this, Penny, you would be on one of the sets. I would be on one of the, we still have 3 trustees per set.
Okay.
So we all serve right now on 2 committees plus an alternate. The alternates are never used. We're just going to get rid of it. So each person will only have 2 committees, which will be combined into 1 meeting, with the exception, I think I'll be on 2 separate meetings, but the rest of you will have only 1 meeting night a month.
Got it. Thank you.
Am I saying that all right? Can you want to jump in there?
I think that it ended up when we were looking at it that the officers had 2 meetings and everyone else had 1. But it really is subject to how you place people on the committees.
It is a reduction of meetings though, for sure. So Yeah, other questions? Go ahead.
No, we'll put in our request to you for which of the three we'd like to. Okay, got it.
Yeah, go ahead. So you would just put in your maybe first or preference, second, third, whichever order, and you'll be placed on one of the pair.
Even though we've already started on.
Yeah, we're
one of
gonna
the
scrap
three.
it. That way we don't have to go a full year with 6 committees. We'll be able to switch to 3.
It's really to address some of the time challenges people are having and trying to make sure we still cover all of the important business we need to cover, but respecting the time. So that's why combining in the groups that we did, they're aligned. So we feel we can get through the agenda still. Obviously, finance and facilities is a big topic, but usually has less words than policy. So it works out in the end.
Anyone online have questions or comments?
No, that's good.
All right, we can move this to a vote, please.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Kotwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges.
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole,
Aye. Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you all. And thank you for your patience with mixing up once and then again right now. I think this is going to be a relief for everyone. Next, we'll move on to Finance Committee.
So in your packet is a recommendation to move forward with increasing the non-resident borrower fees. It is to be set annually by the executive director. And so with the methodology that's spelled out in our policy, it would take the non-resident fee to $50 per year, or we still will have the $12.50 per quarter if people can only pay a quarter at a time. And so this is something that needs to be done annually to address what the fee is. That's the only change I'm asking you to make tonight. And unless you have questions, I'd ask for you to vote on this as well.
Any questions or discussion?
Yeah,
I have a question
Go
regarding
ahead.
that. So the way this is calculated is right. It's based on the total amount we are getting and dividing it by the population, right? But the
Yes,
way each
that's how
card
the
gets
policy spells it out to
correct
calculate.
so far, yes. But the way the cards are used, say for example, when I go to library, my card gets used for me, my children, my wife, because we are allowed to check out like 50 books at a time, right? In the past, when there was a lower limit, the checkout used to be on 2 or 3 cards, right? Based on each card member in the house, right? So instead of now as we have increased the checkout, so one card serves for 4 people instead of being for one person as such. So this way of calculation, unless we are either we should be dividing that total amount by the number of households in the region served, or we should be reducing the number of books allowed, checkout allowed per card, right? That would kind of have a fair valuation rather than just going with the
I have a similar question to Vikram. In the past, the district's always had an annual fee and an individual fee. So this just addresses the individual fee. Would the annual family account fee be also increasing? And for like the household non-resident
The current
And-
policy only calls for an individual card, and that's why that is how I'm spelling it out. We can certainly at the policy committee take this up and look at a family card as well, but that is not how the policy is written. So we're tightening up the practice to match the policy.
Okay, so then that would address Vikram's concern then. So Vic, right now there's a household fee. And it's 115, I think, or something like that. So in
Yes.
the current, under this current policy, every individual would have to use their own card.
But again, there is no restriction, right? I can, if I'm going with my kids, I'm allowed 50 books checkout, then everybody can check out on the same card.
Yes,
Because
it's the same
especially
limit
for
for
me,
the
when
card, whether it is a resident card or non-resident card, you have the same checkout limit.
Correct. So either we go, the fee should be calculated based on household, or we should reduce the number of books allowed, checkout allowed per card. In the past, it used to be, I think 20 books, in like before COVID, few years before that. Now
No,
it's
it used to be unlimited, Vic.
No, at least when I started using the library from 2000, I think there was a limit of 20 books or so. Like I never got unlimited though.
So my suggestion would be, well, either to go ahead and adopt the new fee as calculated that is within the policy guidelines, and then ask for the policy committee to start a review of our practices around non-resident fees and I guess limits of how many items can be checked out. Or you can just table this, and we'll keep the fee at $44 for an individual. And currently it does say, I think it's 115 for a family, but we don't really have a policy to cover that 115. We've apparently just done it by practice. So I was trying to bring us in line with the policy. So it's what's the desire of the board?
We should move it to a vote and see. Obviously, you can vote no if you don't support this. I think we could have policy committee review the policy next if that's a concern. I don't know if we can sit here and say that we're going to treat people who pay out of pocket differently than we treat in the residents. So we'll have to have policy committee look at it. But let's go ahead and finish our discussion on this, and we'll take a roll call vote and see where it falls.
Can I'm curious. When you say out of pocket, you are paying out of pocket as a part of the library district.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is those who are having to pay the non-resident fee, I don't see how we can treat them differently than someone who gets their card through taxes.
I agree,
Well,
Christy. I don't
pay the
think we
taxes.
should have, I don't think we should have separate borrowing limits for different types of cards, especially if they're paying for a card.
Yeah, I'm not saying to have different, but I'm just saying to reduce the number of books allowed, per card checkout at any one instance.
But why? Why would we want to do that? Vic?
Well, reasonably, can somebody, that gets 100 books, how are they going to go review it in time?
Well, I mean, Marianne, it's really not our business, and we also have renewals. So, I mean, if someone first, the limit's 50, so they can't get 100. But if they got 50, I mean, you could argue that they can't read 50 in a month either. But it's really not our business. Some people read fast.
Yeah, they could come in every day and get 50, bring 50 back, get 50 every day. They don't have to wait 3 weeks. We'd love that to happen. I just one other tidbit that I thought would be of interest is there's currently 242 active non-resident card holders. There's 616 total non-resident cards, but only 242 active. And so that for the active card holders brings in about $12,100 per year towards the cost of providing that service.
Quick question. These are cards that also go to somebody when they are, say, a new resident to a new place and they don't have proof of address yet, right?
No.
No, that's different?
Yes.
Okay. So this is really kind of a question of access and folks not really having any way around it. And I don't think the integrity of the user has really anything to do with this, so, okay.
Other questions or discussion? We can start a roll call vote.
I think we need a
I'm sorry.
motion
one
to
second.
approve the
Go ahead.
resolution first.
Yeah, sorry, I was just. gonna-
I'll move that we approve, I don't know what the resolution number is,
It's
sorry, I
okay.
don't.
Here, let me just rewind and start over.
2024-01 non-resident fee, I move we approve that resolution.
I second.
Go ahead.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Penny Lev Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Katwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye, the motion passes. Next up is Port of Ridgefield tax increment financing.
So in your packet is a report regarding a new formation of the Port of Ridgefield proposed local tax increment finance area. These tax increment finance areas are new in the state of Washington. They were voted in 2021 as a way for areas to capture growth in taxes. And in our particular special taxing district, we have already two TIFs in place with the Port of Vancouver and the City of Ridgefield. So this is a third area that is being proposed right now. They're in the public process. If passed, those three combined will mean a loss of $10.8 million to Fort Vancouver Regional Library over the next 25 years. So these are significant captures of taxes that as a special, as a junior taxing district, we don't have the ability to say yes or no to. There is a current Senate Bill 2354 that is looking at a new requirement that would study the impact of the areas and the impact on the special districts. Right now, it's not clear if libraries will be included in that. Fire districts and hospital districts are, but it's not clear if the libraries will be part of that. And so we need to keep talking about this because it's certainly an impact when we look at the 1% cap on our growth and knowing that in these areas where they are going to be obviously investing and there'll be high growth areas, to capture our taxes in that way means we still see our cost of service going up, but we don't see the same increase in the tax revenue. And that can put us in a place where we have to go back to voters and ask for a levy lid lift in order to continue to provide the same level of service. So these are significant issues, and I would just recommend that there's lots of good reading to do on it. I tried to give you just a brief overview, but they do have two public sessions coming up, one tomorrow night at the Port of Ridgefield offices from 5 to 7, and then on Wednesday, April 3rd from 5 to 7. Any questions?
Just being a former city administrator, I know how complicated tax issues can become. And my understanding is this is just for Clark County right now. Is that correct?
At this time, we don't have any proposed TIFs in Skamania or Klickitat County that I've been made aware of.
Okay. Good luck, because it's complicated for people.
Okay. Are we ready to move to policy committee? Oh,
We
I'm
have to
sorry,
do the
I was jumping ahead. Auditing officer procedures. Christine Smith is going to cover this.
Thank you. One of the things that I will share, I have participated in the interviews for your finance director position. And as doing that, one of the things that we honed in on a couple of interviews, that there's a real difference between policy and procedures. And sometimes we use them synonymously with each other, but there really is a difference. So one of the things Jennifer asked me to do on behalf of several requests that she received from your board members, as well as our ideas of constantly looking for efficiencies, was to undertake a process review of looking at the voucher claim approval process. And this is where in your minutes you see the check numbers written from here to here, EFTs and payrolls, and you approve those as a board. And as an individual board members, you know that you have been coming in on a rotation basis once a month to review what we call our board boxes. So we undertook a review of that process. We reviewed RCWs, which is the state law that requires a certain level of review of our expenditures. We looked at the Washington State Bars Manual, and the reason that that's important is that's written by the Washington State Auditor's Office and by legislation, and RCWs, they're the ones who can write the rules for us on how we are to do that. And we also looked at our own policies that have been adopted by the board. We also then, thank you. We also compared the practice that we have to 3 other entities, full service government, which is much larger than us, a smaller special purpose district that's local to us, and we even looked at another library district that's of a similar size to us. What we found was that we have a lot of duplicated efforts within our procedures. On a weekly basis, when checks are cut, when we bring packets of information to Jennifer as the signer of checks to review, we bring her every check that's been printed. We bring her every invoice that supports that check and all other supporting documentation behind it. By your policy that you have adopted by a resolution, Jennifer is our auditing officer. And so she reviews all of those things, or the executive director is your auditing officer. So she reviews all of those things for us before we even release the checks for payment. Then what we found is that you guys come in and are doing somewhat of the very same thing, except you're not seeing the checks, you're seeing invoices, and then you come back and sign that, yes, I saw those too. The other thing that we found is that the Washington state law requires that our auditing officer actually be bonded. We did find that our auditing officers are not bonded. And so we are in the process of getting a quote for that. We currently have Jennifer listed as the auditing officer, and we have all of the Board of Trustees listed by policy as an auditing officer. So if we were to continue the practice of all of you being identified as auditing officers, we would be incurring additional expenses for double the effort. That's the same effort. So what we would like to do, and I looked at both procedures, policies, and your bylaws to make sure that we could do this, is that we have determined that it is a procedural process that we have in place that would allow Jennifer to propose changes to the procedures on the process for the review of the board for these invoice level auditing to occur. We would propose eliminating that and let Jennifer serve as the only auditing officer for the district. What we would then be doing is when you see the summary level information in your board packet, we would actually support that in your board packet. And there is a sample in there tonight of what the report that would accompany that would look like, which would actually be this actually more detail than you're actually seeing at the board level packet. You would see the check number we wrote, who it was written to, the amount, and the date. So that's the proposal that we bring forward. And again, by procedure process, your bylaws say Jennifer can just initiate this change in procedures. So the finance committee supported us in doing this. And so we will be changing that effective immediately. Sorry, Vikram, I think you missed it. But I think Penny, you get a reprieve starting next month. But what we do note is that in one of your policies that is adopted by resolution, all of the Board of Trustees are labeled as the auditing officers. So next month, we would bring back a resolution that eliminates that wording and only identifies Jennifer, the executive director, as the auditing officer. What I want to share with you is that this by no means that you can't ask us questions. You have a right to, as you're getting that board packet and you're looking at those checks, to ask, what was this check written for? What supports it? And we can provide all of the information and data behind that check to you. But what we're hoping to do is provide efficiencies and really meet the standards that are best practices. And of all three of the entities, both small to large, they all do it this way. So this is really just getting us in line with other municipalities.
So with the
I'm
current.
curious, you're having the director be the person responsible. Is there a reason why you wouldn't ask the treasurer to do that?
The treasurer is our Clark County treasurer by state law, and we do report to them, but they do not serve as the auditing officer for any other special purpose districts.
Do we have an officer that kind of is more linked into the financial rather than just, I mean, that puts a big load on Jennifer. I was just trying to figure out if there was another officer that would fill that role more appropriately.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yes, I understand that, but procedure, Jennifer was already doing it. So this actually isn't changing her workload.
Okay.
It's just clarifying that her work is serving as that auditing officer as she's doing it versus having her do it and someone coming behind her to do it. That sometimes might not even have the direct experience or the understanding of what they're looking for in that. And the law says, just to share, the law says that as long as there is a system of internal controls in place, we can do this and the board can approve it at the next meeting after Jennifer's work. So as the board, you've adopted by resolutions financial fiscal management policies, you've adopted purchasing policies, you've adopted hiring policies that outline roles and responsibilities. So you really have put in those systems of internal controls that provide support for these expenditures and for the auditing work that Jennifer would do.
So you're
Thank you.
saying it's redundant right now for us
Yes.
to look at it. Okay. And then the system or the process as it stands now, say I was reviewing it, I found something that was off by a few bucks. I still bring that back to Jennifer, right? Like that's who is accountable to us for that information.
Yes, but you would not be seeing invoices anymore. So you would see checks. So I wouldn't say you would be able to see dollars off, but I can guarantee you she does because I've had those conversations with her and had them today as she was auditing the packet of checks that I took to her today. So I actually say you're getting all of your money's worth in her review.
Absolutely. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion?
So next is the policy committee, and thank you to Megan for training me that this is the first reading for both of these policies. They're in your packet as track changes. The policy committee has reviewed them over the course of 2 months and feels comfortable in bringing them forward. Due to time tonight, I would just ask that you read them and be prepared for discussion and adoption next month in order to keep us moving forward tonight.
No problem. No objection.
Does anyone have questions or discussion tonight around those though, while we're here?
My only question is all the changes are in red,
Changes are in red.
either crossed out or added.
Yeah, is that correct? Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right, we can move on with facilities committee.
So I'm going to ask Dave Josephson to come up and talk about the Woodland Library update.
Good evening, board. My name is Dave Josephson. I'm the Facilities and Fleet Director for our library district. And I thank you for having me here. It's always a humbling experience to work at the library and be such a part of such a great organization. Where we're at with the Woodland Library yesterday was a major milestone for us. We've been held back from the weather to pour what we call our SOG or slab on grade. And yesterday we were able to do that because of restraints in cold weather temperatures and rain. It's really dampened our start on that. And so this was a major milestone to get the concrete poured. The slab's all poured now. It turned out beautiful. It actually really turned out really good. So it was good that we waited. It was about a 3-week wait to get this done, but now we can move forward with what I call installing the diamonds for our steel erection, and we can move forward with laying out our walls. And I think from this moment on, it's a good step forward. We have to wait about 5 more days for pure cure, so we can start laying that out. But I would say by Friday, we'll be laying out walls and the steel erection will be going. So everything went good. Kaufman engineers looked at everything and signed off that the pour was good. So from there, that's about where we're at. We're still looking at a schedule of sometime late September for a complete finish. I'm hoping we can stick to that and get moving forward now that we've got over this major hurdle. We've been working through a little bit of technical areas as we go along, some special inspections that needed to be done, like with the steel fabrication. We had to certify that all the welds were correct and the penetrations were good. And so we had a outside source come in, MTC testing, and watch the welders perform these welds to ensure that they're done correctly. So that was another little setback. We had to get a certified agency to come look at that. And unfortunately, the welding company is in Tacoma. So we had to make a road trip up that way to get that done. But that was done. They certified it and signed off, and we're good to go with that. So there's been a few little hiccups along the way, but nothing too major. And this was the major one, the getting over this milestone of getting that slab poured, because it allows us, like I say, to now move forward, laying out walls, and we can erect the steel. And so I think in the next couple of weeks, if you were to drive by, you'll really see a lot of good things happening there. Is there any questions on the Woodland Library that I can answer real quick? I'll move on to Washougal. Oh, you'll do that one? Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Just one point of clarification. Dave said he hopes to have substantial completion in September. That does not mean when the library opens. That's about construction. Then there's a lot more that happens on the inside. We are still looking at a late fall 2024 opening. So more to come on that. At your place, board members, you have overview of the Washougal Community Library project. And this is just an update of a handout that our foundation is using to help fundraise for this particular project. But what I wanted to highlight tonight was the fact that we are in partnership with the city of Washougal and our foundation in working toward really realizing this project. So right now we have a funding gap of $6 million on this project. So it's an $11 million estimated project cost right now. And as days and months go by, that cost just goes up. So that's what we know right now. We have met with all of our partners and the 17 district legislators on December 28th before they went into session to talk about this project, because the city is throwing all of its state capital budget requests behind the library this year. And Representative Waters from the 17th district has taken forward a request of $5 million for the joint legislative capital budget request this year. There isn't likely $5 million to be given this year, but just having that request in, and we can continue to ask, and Representative Waters is going to continue to put that forward. Hopefully, we will get some source of funding from the state toward this project. So the city itself continues to move forward with their town center project, and they are still in the planning phases. Both Rick from the foundation and I attended the city council meeting last week, which was an update on their project. And we just hope to continue to really start to, as we are finalizing the Woodland project and bringing that to reality, turn our attention to Washougal and how we can raise funds to make this project a reality as well. Any questions?
All right, we're ready to move on to the amended 2024 board meeting schedule. Page 60 in your packet, you'll see that the retreat has moved to September 21st. Are there any questions or discussion about the new schedule?
You said September 21st?
Yes, September 21st. So the March meeting will just be a regular meeting, and then September 21st will be the retreat from 9 to 4, and the board meeting from 4 to 6. Is there a motion to approve the amended schedule?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye. Did you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole.
I voted yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Kotwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. The Board of Trustees will now meet in executive session to discuss litigation as allowed by RCW 423110 and collective bargaining per RCW 423140. The Board of Trustees will be in executive session for 45 minutes. When is that? Ooh, it's gonna be so 9:35. Does that sound right? 9:35, right? Or until 9:35 p.m. The Board of Trustees is expected to take further action following the executive session. Thank you. Oh, those trustees who are online, please log off the Zoom call while we're in executive session. Thank you.
We're going to ask that everyone that is still here and staying, if you could please wait in the atrium. We're going to have the board stay here for executive session tonight due to the time. Thank you.
Hello?
Welcome back. We'll call this meeting back to order. Can those online hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Christy.
I call the regular meeting back to order. We're gonna move on now to.
Christy, one second. Mary Ann and Vic are not back in the Zoom yet.
Okay, we'll give them a minute. Thank you for letting me know.
We have Mary Ann now.
Vic, let us know if you can hear us. Oh, okay. Okay. Vikram, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. I think we have everyone back. Next on the agenda is the AFSCME contract 9.1 resolution 2024-2 AFSCME CBA ratification. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Didn't hear your response, Mary Ann. We can move on, and Mary Ann, we still haven't heard you, so if you want to type your response, that would be great.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Kotwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Christy Morgan.
Aye. Motion passes. The next regular meeting will be Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. It will be hybrid at Three Creeks Community Library and Zoom. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Any objection? Hearing no. Hearing none, we're dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you.